When we returned home from that trip to California in 1947, we settled into a home in a new address, 3619 South Bell Fountain. It was situated on the corner of Sanford B. Ladd School, where my father was head custodian, as he had been head custodian over at the old Scarrett School. And Sanford B. Ladd School was situated on Benton Boulevard. Even before we moved over there, Dad would often drive visitors to our home from other states or even from foreign countries when foreign missionaries came to stay in our home when they came back for a furlough. Dad would drive them down Benton Boulevard because of the beauty of the trees and the large houses that lined Benton Boulevard. My mother was very pleased to be in this new house. She euphemistically described it as a three-bedroom house. I found a letter she had written to her parents at that time, just before we moved in. It's a bit of a stretch of the English language to call it a three-bedroom house. It had two normal-sized bedrooms upstairs and a little room that probably was intended to be a walk-in closet. It was over the stairs. The room measured 7 by 7, but the floor area was taken away with a platform where the head of the stairs, where the stairs over the ceiling of the stairs took out a good hunk of the floor space. And as soon as I saw that room, I knew where I was going to wind up. So my little sister went into one of the big bedrooms. My parents got the other big bedroom. And then I got the what was probably the walk-in closet. Now, after I got into that house, for some reason, I started having the strangest feeling that I should start practicing a technique that a second grader had taught me many years before, or some years before. I wasn't old, after all, I was 11. Seemed like a long time when you're 11, back to second grade. But in second grade, a kid had taught me some kind of technique. I don't know, I don't think there was a name for it, but he said, take 20 deep breaths and then blow on your thumb. So I'm going, and then I blow on my thumb, and in the second grade, I would totally pass out. I enjoyed the experience. I showed a number of other kids how to do it. And one day a kid said, well, demonstrate for me. So I said, okay, well, you have to catch me because when I lose consciousness, I fall right over, and I need somebody to catch me so I won't hurt myself. So he promised to catch me, but he thought I was faking, and he didn't catch me. I fell right over, like a plunk onto the asphalt, and I was gone for quite a long time. I don't know for how long, but when I woke up, there were several teachers standing above me. I looked up at them, and there was a big circle of kids all around me. And once I revived, the teacher said, now don't ever do that again. So I didn't practice that for a long time, but now I was feeling for some reason that I should practice it. Well, my bed was too hard and too small. It had a horsehair mattress, which was hard enough, but it also had a steel frame. And I was afraid that if I'd hit that frame, I'd hurt myself. Or maybe I'd fall off the bed, being rather small. So I asked my sister if she would kindly allow me to stand up on her bed and do this technique that I'd learned in second grade. I was feeling constantly this notion that I should be doing this. And so she consented kindly. And I stood up on the bed and I took 20 deep breaths and I blew on my thumb. And a little bit of an experience, something, a little warmth, but nothing like in second grade. I did it again. 20 deep breaths, blew on my thumb, and again, almost no effect whatsoever. So I was standing on her bed, puzzled. I was trying to figure out what's going on. And while I was standing there, I heard a voice in my right ear. And the voice said, no, that's not the way it's done. Sit down on the edge of the bed. So I sat down on the edge of the bed. The voice said, sit erect, sit straight, put your hands in your lap, put the palms up, facing upwards. So I did that. And then the voice led me through, step by step, through the technique of what later I learned is called Kriya Yoga. And after teaching me Kriya Yoga, then the voice taught me how to do Jyoti Mudra. So as the days went by, I'm sitting on the edge of the bed. I can't remember for sure. I think usually I went into my sister's bed. It was softer to sit on. But it might have been in my bed sometimes that I did it. I just don't remember. But I was sitting on the bed in my sister's bed one day, not that much later, and my mother saw what was happening. She saw me sitting there very straight with my eyes closed and my hands upright. And she said, what are you doing? I could tell by the tone of her voice there's a little problem here. I tried to think of something to say that wouldn't be a falsehood, but still maybe wouldn't quite be spilling the beans. But I couldn't think of anything, so I just told her, well, I'm moving the currents in the spine. She said, moving the currents in the spine? Who taught you that? Well, again, I'm trying to think of something to say that's plausible, but yet is not telling the whole truth. But I couldn't think of anything, so I just told her, well, I heard a voice tell me how to do it. And she said, you heard a voice? And I said, yes. And so she said, don't do it anymore. But I argued with her. I said, no, it's good. I should be doing this. And much to my surprise, she said, well, don't do it until we go to talk to the preacher and we go to talk to the doctor, Dr. Rising. The preacher was Brother Lauren S. Goings, the new preacher in our church. He had just come that summer. I think we went to see Dr. Rising first. I went in with her on that occasion. As I implied when I told my mother that I was moving the currents in the spine, Kriya Yoga is primarily a mental technique. However, it's more effective when performed with a certain type of breathing. And of course, my mother, being unable to see the mental activity that I was performing, focused on the breathing activity when she talked to Dr. Rising. Well, it sounds like it's a deep breathing technique of some sort, and oxygen is good for the body. If anything, it'll probably help his health, and I'd been having health problems. So he gave his blessing, and then we went over to see Brother Lauren S. Goings, who later became Dr. Lauren S. Goings, and he'd read a lot. And apparently he said it was harmless. I didn't go in with her on that occasion. I sat out in the hallway waiting for her. But whatever he said, it made it okay. And so she reluctantly gave her blessing for me to do it. But she didn't like it. I could tell that she didn't like it. She had been trained as a foreign missionary. And I have no doubt that she'd read a little bit about the meditation techniques of India, and she knew what I was doing. Probably didn't know the details, but she knew enough to know that it was from India and it was probably related to yoga, and that meant it was of the devil. And so she didn't like it a bit that I was doing it, but she allowed me to do it. And so for quite some time thereafter, I would practice my Kriyas. Well, before I continue the narrative, I think I should say a few words about what Kriya Yoga is, what Jyoti Mudra is, and who is speaking to me. And I'll address the last question first since it's the easiest to deal with. The speaker, no doubt, was Paramahansa Yoganandaji. And I say that because of the objective evidence. He was teaching me exactly the kind of Kriya that SRF teaches, SRF being the organization that he founded. Moreover, it's different from the technique that many others who teach Kriya Yoga. For example, he had me sit upright on the bed instead of sitting cross-legged. He's been criticized, especially in India, for allowing his devotees not to sit in the lotus position, cross-legged, as they do in India. But I can say that it was a good thing that he didn't have me sit cross-legged on the bed, because my mother really would have lost her cool if she'd have seen me sitting cross-legged on the bed practicing my Kriyas. It was bad enough that I was sitting on the edge of the bed like a Western person would. Even then I had troubles with my mother, as you've seen. But apart from the objective evidence, I just felt his presence. Now that I have felt his presence many times since then, it was the same person. It was Paramahansa Yoganandaji who taught me Kriya Yoga. Also, it should be noted that that was his mission. He was sent here to the West to teach the Westerners Kriya Yoga. That was one of his main goals in coming to the West. We already had religions. We had many saints in Western Europe and even in the U.S. who have not practiced yoga. But he came here to add the benefit of having a technique which would accelerate spiritual growth. The techniques used by others many centuries ago and up to the present had been effective but slow. Kriya Yoga dramatically speeds up the spiritual evolution. So I have no doubt that it was Paramahansa Yogananda who taught me Kriya Yoga in 1947. Now the question of Jyoti Mudra should be saved until after I talk about Kriya Yoga, because once I talk about Kriya Yoga in detail, it'll be easier to understand Jyoti Mudra. Also, Kriya Yoga is a more significant technique than is Jyoti Mudra. So I'd like to talk about Kriya Yoga, and I'd like to teach you the technique, but I'm not allowed to do so, and for good reason. In the first place, I'd probably get it wrong. For many, many centuries, the techniques such as Kriya Yoga were disseminated only word of mouth, directly from the guru to the follower. There's even a hint of that in the Bible. For many, many ages, all through the Dark Ages, this technique was given only to very, very few people. It was kept secret from the great masses of people. It wasn't until recent ages that permission was given to the gurus like Paramahansa Yoganandaji to give it to people like me on the condition that I not try to teach it to others, because I'm not qualified to teach it. So I'm not qualified. The second reason is that many people are not ready to be meditators. Even my own wife, Joy, when she wrote to Self-Realization Fellowship in the 1970s, requesting permission to join and to receive the lessons on how to meditate, she was told no. Not because she wasn't spiritually ready, she was an evolved person, but because that she was in counseling. They thought it would be too confusing for her to start a course on meditation at the same time she was in counseling. So they advised her to wait for a while, finish her counseling. If she still felt that she wanted to study yoga and to learn the techniques of meditation, then she could reapply later, which she did. And in addition, not all those who are given permission to learn the meditation techniques are given training in the advanced techniques, such as Kriya Yoga. Some quarter of a century after I got into SRF, I heard a monk just casually say one time when he was giving a lecture that he was on duty one time at the SRF headquarters on Mount Washington, and in came Elvis Presley and a friend. And Elvis was clearly very agitated, and he was saying, "Oh, I've got to see Dayamata. I've got to see Dayamata." And he explained, well, Dayamata's a very busy person. You need to make an appointment. Lots of people want to see her. And it probably wouldn't be possible for you to just come in and see her like this without an appointment. But Elvis was demanding he just had to see Dayamata. So according to the monk, somebody went to talk to Dayamata, the president, who's been our president now, amazing woman, another story, an amazing woman, president for over 50 years now. And in any case, Dayamata graciously allowed Elvis Presley and his friend to come up and talk to her. Well, I'd never heard a word about it. I'd been in the SRF for 25 years, whatever. I'd never heard a word about Elvis. I doubted the story, and shortly thereafter it occurred to me I might be able to find something on the web about that. The web was just beginning to be a source of information that I was looking toward when I wanted to answer such obscure questions. So I got on the web, and sure enough, there was an Elvis Presley website that had an interview with Larry Geller, the friend of Elvis Presley, who probably was the one who went with him to talk to Dayamata on that particular afternoon. And he talks in detail about his experiences with Dayamata. So Elvis Presley was never permitted to learn Kriya Yoga.